The city was sleeping, unaware of what was happening beneath its streets. Not a noise, not a trace, not a single alarm triggered. For months, maybe longer, someone was digging. A tunnel, engineered in secrecy, stretching silently through layers of concrete and earth. This wasn't amateur work. It had structure, precision, planning, ventilation systems, industrial lighting, reinforced walls. Whoever built it knew exactly what they were doing. And their destination? One of the most secure financial vaults in the country. This is the story of the tunnel that shouldn't exist, and the impossible heist it made possible.
The theft at the central bank in Fortaleza resulted in 28 criminal cases, just in the federal court, where 119 defendants convicted.
According to the federal police agent investigating the case, about 8 men were involved in the largest bank robbery in the country. 156 million reais were taken over the weekend from the central bank headquarters in Fortaleza.
In the house rented by the robbers, a synthetic grass company was operating. Everything was a front to make it easier to dig the tunnel.
On the morning of August 8, 2005, employees of the Central Bank of Brazil in Fortaleza arrived for work like they had every other Monday. The alarms were silent. The doors were intact. The vault, one of the most secure in the country, stood untouched until it was opened. Inside, something was wrong. Cash was everywhere. Loose bundles scattered across the floor. Torn packaging. Disorder where there should have been precision. But the scale of what was missing was far worse than the mess left behind. More than 164 million Brazilian reais, the equivalent of about 70 million US dollars at the time, had vanished. This wasn't fresh currency in circulation. These were worn banknotes, old bills scheduled for destruction, cash that was supposed to be incinerated and removed from the financial system forever, which meant whoever stole it knew exactly what was inside that vault, knew when it would be there, and knew it wasn't insured. Then investigators noticed something even more disturbing. Beneath the vault floor was a perfectly carved hole, a tunnel, more than 260 feet long. Someone hadn't broken into the bank. They had come from underneath it. Why this was the heist of the century. In August 2005, Brazil woke up to a crime that felt almost impossible. 70 million US dollars had been stolen directly from the central bank, the institution responsible for regulating the country's currency supply. There were no explosions, no armed confrontation, no hostages, no alarms triggered, and perhaps most unsettling of all, no immediate suspects. This wasn't a commercial branch vulnerable to street crime. It was a federal financial institution built to withstand attack. The stolen cash wasn't insured, which meant the loss wasn't absorbed by a private company. It was absorbed symbolically by the nation itself. The robbery wasn't just about money. It was about vulnerability, and what investigators would soon uncover beneath the streets of Fortaleza would permanently redefine the scale of organized crime in Brazil. The disguise above ground. Every complex operation begins with something simple, a cover story. Just blocks from the central bank, a warehouse was rented under the name of a landscaping company specializing in synthetic grass. On paper, nothing seemed unusual. The business had documentation. It paid rent. It received deliveries. Neighbors saw workers coming and going. Trucks loaded with soil and construction material were a normal sight. In a growing urban center like Fortaleza, minor construction noise rarely attracts attention. That was precisely the point. Normalcy was their greatest shield, because beneath that warehouse floor, something extraordinary was taking place. Digging the impossible. The excavation began quietly. There were no industrial drills, no jackhammers, no heavy excavation machinery. Everything was done manually. Shovels, pickaxes, buckets. The reason was strategic. Mechanical vibration travels through soil, and seismic detection systems inside secure institutions are designed to register unusual underground disturbance. So the tunnel advanced slowly, meter by meter, night after night, for nearly 3 months. Workers removed soil gradually, transporting it in small quantities to avoid suspicion. By the time investigators reconstructed the timeline, they realized the crew had achieved something extraordinary. The tunnel stretched 80 meters, more than 260 feet, from the warehouse to directly beneath the central bank vault. The alignment was not approximate. It was precise, calculated to emerge exactly where it needed to. Not a hole, an engineered structure. What stunned investigators wasn't just the distance, it was the sophistication. This wasn't a desperate escape tunnel. It was infrastructure. Wooden support beams reinforced the walls at measured intervals to prevent collapse. Plastic lining reduced moisture infiltration and protected structural integrity. The floor was leveled and compacted, allowing wheeled carts to move efficiently through the passage. Electrical wiring powered fluorescent lighting along its length. Ventilation ducts circulated fresh air from the warehouse entrance deep into the excavation zone. Portable cooling units regulated the oppressive underground heat of Fortaleza's humid climate. The tunnel wasn't survivable. It was operational, a controlled environment designed for sustained labor. Investigators would later describe it as an underground workspace built for a single objective: reach the vault undetected. The men behind the engineering, the trajectory was calculated by Marcos Rogerio Machado de Moraes, known as Rogerio Bocón. He ensured the alignment was exact. Overseeing excavation was Moisés Teixeira da Silva, nicknamed Tupera, the Mole. At the center of the operation was Antonio Jusivan Alves dos Santos, known simply as Alemão. He coordinated logistics, financing, and operational secrecy. For months, above ground, life continued as normal. Below ground, the operation moved closer to the vault. The final barrier. In early August 2005, the tunnel reached its end point. Only reinforced concrete separated the crew from the reserves, nearly 1 meter thick. Drilling through it required precision. No explosives, no shock waves, no sudden structural collapse. The final breach had to remain silent, because after months of preparation, detection at the last moment would have destroyed everything. And then it happened. The concrete gave way. The tunnel opened directly beneath the vault, exactly as planned. 3 days inside the vault. The operation took place over a weekend, August 6th to 7th, 2005. While the city slept and the bank remained closed, the crew entered the vault from below. Inside were used banknotes scheduled for destruction. Each bundle weighed more than 20 pounds. Altogether, the cash weighed over 3.5 tons, more than 7,000 pounds of currency. For hours, bundle after bundle was passed through the tunnel, hand to hand, cart after cart. No alarms sounded, no guard intervened. By sunrise Monday morning, $70 million were gone, and no one knew it yet. The discovery. It wasn't until bank employees returned that the breach was discovered. The vault floor had been opened from below. The realization spread quickly. This wasn't a smash and grab robbery. It was architectural infiltration. Brazil's federal police launched one of the most extensive investigations in the country's history. More than 100 suspects, multiple states, years of surveillance. At first, there were no clear leads until agents searched the warehouse. The fingerprint, among discarded tools and food packaging, investigators found a margarine and cheese wrapper. On it was a fingerprint. It belonged to Alemão. A single trace, a single mistake. That was enough. From there, investigators followed financial transactions, luxury homes, rural estates, shell corporations, cash transfers. The network began to unravel. Violence after the robbery. But the robbery didn't end peacefully. Weeks later, one of the financiers, Luis Fernando Ribeiro, known as Fernandinho, was kidnapped and murdered. The motive was internal dispute, a share of stolen money, corrupt police officers and criminals demanding payment. The heist that began underground was now triggering violence above ground. Aftermath. Over the following years, 119 individuals were convicted. Some were low-level participants. Others were central figures. Alemão remains imprisoned in a federal maximum security facility. Rogério Bocão was captured in 2023 after more than a decade as a fugitive. Yet of the $70 million stolen, only about $25 million was ever recovered. The rest disappeared, absorbed into circulation, hidden, spent, or buried somewhere that has never been found. Because sometimes the most audacious crimes don't happen in daylight. They happen underground.